Hi, welcome to another Behind the Poem story. As I said the last time I posted a video, I only have this last poem from my first book, Between Hindsight and Foresight, in order, left to explain and talk about. Now, as I said last time, this is the longest poem in the book. It is the last poem in the book. Literally, not just the last one I'm explaining, because it is the one that means the most to me. It is a poem that is about my home and about not just what it feels like or looks like, but the memories that I experienced in that, and that no matter how far I go, no matter how I may move around in other countries or travel or, grow and develop as a writer, all of the things that I am now, I can trace all the way back to my parents and the home in which they raised me. The unconditional, complete, and total love that they shared with me and my siblings in this home that they created. So, home is where the heart is cliche, but there are a reason why cliches exist. So, just for anybody who didn't see the last video, Coordinates of Home is based on a necklace that was given to me as a Christmas present by my mother with the latitude and longitude of the house that I grew up in. Obviously, it's redacted in the book, but it is one of those things that the minute I opened it, I knew what it was. The minute I realized what it was an extremely emotional moment. And then weeks later, months later, I'm in a writing phase, and I have the necklace on, and it decided to start trying to capture or encapsulate the memories that I had of home. I start with the physical. I go out outside the house, almost like I'm taking a camera, and just like I tell my students, I move from the outside in, both physically and figuratively. Through my memory, through the verses, it should feel like you're walking through my memory in a kind of visual and emotional way. Also, as you read through the verses, you should feel like you're going further and further into my mind, my heart, my soul, that which makes me who I am, by looking at the things that created me. So, moving from the outside into the house, and I talk a lot about the early verses with the kitchen and the front rooms up to page 93 in the book. And then from page 93 up to 96, we're moving upstairs and we're moving into the bedrooms. Now, obviously, the personal nature of bedrooms, the personal nature of the objects in which we keep, the decoration of it, it shifts over time. And, all of the areas upstairs, the bedrooms, the bathroom, my parents' room, the guest room, all of them were decorated, painted, stenciled. There were antiques on all the shelves around the ceiling. It was covered in just knickknacks and antiques and things that were treasured, both from my family before and the family that came after, because obviously I continue to go home. So the fact that it's not a stationary kind of preserved museum piece, it's always changing. The bottle or the jam jar with buttons that my grandmother collected during the Great Depression, that my mother has sitting on her sewing desk in the hallway, is a link to the past. And the shifting computer room with the guest bed having been my grandmother's room, having been my sister's nursery, having been any number of purposes put to this room, shows the transitory nature of how it goes forward as well. And so what you need to understand as you read through, it becomes more and more nonlinear. It becomes more and more the same way our own minds and memories work when we encounter music or food or sounds or smells. As I mentally walk through the house, and review those memories. There are both physical descriptions of the environment and memories that are connected to them. For example, once you get to the bit on page 98 and 99, a little bit, I think, also on page 97, we're talking about the attic and the scary parts of the house, and how I used to be afraid of the attic, but knew that that shut door meant that nothing could harm me. And learning as an adult that that's where the the Christmas presents were kept. Learning as an adult that that's where the conspiracy was to get me out of my room in order so that my parents could bring the presents down from the attic, to pretend that Santa had left them under the Christmas tree, and then obviously, me not realizing that that was the only reason my brother was being nice to me on Christmas Eve. Well, maybe not the only reason, but a major reason to help the conspiracy of belief in something magical like Santa. And then obviously when I got older and it was my turn to help my mother keep the secret, so the attic was no longer forbidden during Christmas time because I could help my mother wrap the presents to help the magic stay from my sister. So, the kind of generational, again, aspect of the house was really quite magic in itself, and how it's not just, a physical place. So talking about that, looking at the verses here, so I'm just going to read a little bit here. So, a forbidden, talking about my brother's bedroom, so my bedroom on the left, another on the right. Once brother's lofted bed, man cave under it, comics and bookshelves from which I borrowed and read tales till they literally fell apart to be taped up and read again. A forbidden zone, except when they needed to sneak Santa's presents out of the attic above my own. That night I was allowed in a conspiracy of magic to believe a little longer. Part of me always will. Eventually, sister's plush pink pastel, Disney and dancing to top pop music, till I wanted to bury my head in pillows, escape one more round of I'm Barbie Girl. Rooms on rotation as growing set our paths from home. So that motion of it being my bedroom being in the same place, my brother's, and then he moves out and it becomes my sister's, and how we share or don't share those rooms and those spaces, I think is something that most families can connect to, or at least relate to, the whole sibling rivalry and the interaction between siblings, and how that shifts. So when we're going through all of the different verses of this kind of upstairs thing, we get through from page 96 and 98 is the bathroom, the hallway, my parents' room, the attic, and the scary parts of the house from 98 and 99. And then we start shifting into less physical, because at that point on page 99, I have finished, or at least completed, the description of all of the places in the house. So I start talking about all of the moments and emotions and holidays that come between. So I move from that between the scary parts, a fortress of love, like life, stumbling in innocence and ignorance with only home as a touchstone. Summers peeling corn on the back steps, dog going crazy in the yard, scaring rabbits and town kids, more terrier than terrifying, not that she knew. Memorial Day parades, first watching in childhood, not understood, then performed before or after my birthday, topped with Mom's strawberry shortcake as only she can make it, with barbecues by the pool, running through sprinklers and backyards, playing tag and manhunt until it's too dark, or the voices calling us home for dinner. So I began by moving through the seasons. Summer. One of the best comments I ever had, somebody read it, and when they got to that part, when they got to the description of summer memories, they said that if I didn't already know that you were American, this is the verse that would have convinced me that you were American. This is the verse that identifies the most. I guess, I don't know, sitting on the back steps and the Memorial Day parade being a very American thing. There's a different name for that holiday in most other countries, different dates, things like that. But the whole peeling ears of corn, I think, probably gives me away. Barbecues by the swimming pool, again, gives me away. So much of my identity is in this poem, but the same person made a different comment, that it was like flipping through a picture album, that it was very visual, very sensory kind of trip that they could follow and get lost in with a dreamlike quality. And I don't think I've ever had any higher compliment to my work than that is the feeling of it. Because that is what it feels like to me every time I visit my home in my memory. The fact that it is a completely rambling structure, that the line length is not standard, that there's no rhyme, there's no specific number of lines per verse, that it just flows, and when it feels like I should change verse, I change verse. When it feels like I should change line, I change line. Words that I want to stand out get isolated on a line of their own. The sentences and punctuation moves from line to line. It all happens very viscerally, very emotionally, and that was definitely on purpose. I wanted to just let it all spill onto the page the same way it spills through my memory. So we're now up to the bits in the poem where I'm talking about the seasonal memories, and I've talked a little bit about the structure and a little bit about the emotion behind it. But obviously, I like to keep these videos relatively short. I will probably have one more video about coordinates of home just to kind of finish it off, to tell you a little bit more about the end of the poem. I hope you've enjoyed this second poem on behind the poem stories from Between Hindsight and Foresight. If you have missed the other ones, please go back and check them. My rambling gets a little bit less and a little bit more depending on the clarity of the poem and my clarity of my thoughts, but I hope if you are a writer that you are going to enjoy some of my discussion of the writing process. If you are a reader and you want to know where did that idea come from, or did she do that on purpose, some of that is discussed in the previous videos, and hopefully I'll be able to give you some other content as well, even after I finish explaining the stories behind Coordinates of Home. Until next time, have a lovely evening, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.